Okay, you're good.
All right, so since we don't have our chair as vice chair, I'll go ahead and start the meeting. I've got 6:31. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the February 11th, 2021 minutes. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? Oh, he finally shows up.
We just need him to unmute himself.
I know.
Okay, that's better. I'm sorry.
So just FYI, I've already called the meeting to order in your absence, but we haven't done anything yet.
Okay, good. I do apologize. Holy smokes. Oh my God. Okay. So you called it. I do. I can't say enough. I do apologize. So meeting called, approval of the minutes for February. Oops.
I don't see any updates or changes. I move to approve the minutes as written.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Any other discussion? Terry?
Director Harding,
Aye.
Director Montre,
Aye.
Director Semienko,
Aye.
Chairperson Williams.
Aye.
Director Reynolds is absent right now. The motion passed 4 to yeses and 1 absent.
All right, chairperson's report. I have nothing. I have nothing at this time. So for comments from any other fellow board members. Alan?
So I got a couple questions. First of all, I don't know if I need to direct this at Larry or Scott. What kind of training do we put staff through that drive district vehicles? Do they go any kind of defensive driver training or anything like that?
Go ahead, Scott.
We don't have a specific course. It's basically follow the rules of the road, the traffic rules, the laws that apply. We do remind them frequently at their tailgate meetings that they are driving district property and to observe all speed limit rules and use their signals and all of those things. So it sounds like maybe someone wasn't doing that.
Yeah, kind of. Well, in the last couple of months, I've seen twice where, you know, a kind of a bigger thing, and then now about a week ago, kind of a smaller thing. So, you know, when we have district vehicles, when it says North Highlands Park District all over the vehicle, the drivers need to make sure that they're doing everything they should be doing.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%, Alan.
All right. I mean, I don't know if there is any, I mean, in my prior job, we used to have to go to like a defensive driver training class anytime you drove. I think it was like every 5 to 8 years. And I didn't know if that was something we want to look into.
Well, Capri offers numerous courses on workplace safety, safe driving, use of tools, things like that. I will look into opportunities to do a safe driving course. Absolutely. And perhaps you and I can speak one-on-one if
that's fine.
You know, particular individual that needs a little bit of redirecting. So
okay. The other thing is that this kind of goes out to my fellow board members, is when Larry sends out an email or Terry or whoever, a lot of times you don't have to reply all. I get so many emails, and that's just more emails I have to go through. And in some cases, if it's talking about an issue coming up, and if you state your opinion, you could be in violation of the Brown Act too. So just be aware of that. Unless it's something that needs to be responded to all, just please don't. Thank you.
Crystal, was that your pin up?
Yes, it is. Good evening. I'm so glad we have a community member on the call. Thank you for joining us. Can you believe it? We are at our year since like COVID officially was a thing. I remember it was like Friday, March 13th, where it was like the last Friday my children were in school. So it's kind of like coming back to me. I'm starting to reflect and really appreciate and that we're alive and just grateful for the opportunities that we have. I'm also excited to hear about spring programming and how that's going with the recruitment and folks that are signing up. And very, very interested to learn more about summer programming. I've been seeing other districts that are doing outdoor activities or outdoor fitness, skateboard, swim, training their lifeguards during the spring break. So I'm really interested to see what our district has in store and what can we creatively come up with, respecting COVID protocols and just safety measures. But I do see a need in our community to really serve as that hub, that space, that entity that can provide some form of relief, respite, leisure activities in our community, even if it's small groups, and again, outdoors. So I'm super excited and I'd love to support with that. And then interested to learn about like how do organizations who are interested to collaborate with Park District, how does that work? How does that relationship start or facilitate? Like if a provider or someone that has a service and wants to provide it as a program, how does that work and how do we facilitate those partnerships? And yeah, just super excited to hear more. I'm glad we're in March and I'm just extending peace and love to everyone. Happy Women's History Month, 365 all the time, but I'll recognize women hold it down. So yeah, we are the most dynamic ladies on the team. And so I just want to bring light to that and extend love and peace to all of you. So thank you for allowing me to provide comments.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay. 5, report standing committee. We don't have any of those yet. So we will jump to number 6, administrator report.
I have a question about that. Do we only provide reports if we officially met?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Larry. On A, the California Association for Park Recreation's Capri website update.
Yeah, I don't think I need to add any more than what the report states. It's just a new portal system that Capri's put in place, and it should make life a lot easier for our district and all membership districts, or member districts, and how we report whether it be workers' comp issues, accidents, claims, those types of things. It's been well received by many of the districts. In fact, I've not heard one negative yet, which is good. So I think the report pretty much addresses those particular issues.
Okay, then we'll move on to Scott, maintenance report.
Okay. Outside of my written report, I don't really have too much to add. I know that I have another report coming up later in the board meeting as well about facility inspections. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Crystal, question?
I apologize. When Larry makes his about his report, is that when we're supposed to ask questions if we have questions? Thank you for being so patient with me. Question, when Twin Rivers returns to hybrid model or return to school, how does that affect, it says pools are no longer open due to the partnership with the school districts and the schools that have the pools. How does that affect the opportunities that come from that? And has the Park District ever offered swim lessons or swim clinics aside from swim leagues?
Yes. The first question, I didn't quite understand what you were asking, but let me address the second one while it's fresh in my mind. Yeah, I think we talked about that before. The district does offer swim lessons. When we had our own pool, we offered a full slate of swim lessons. And since the pool's been closed now, what, 4 years, 5 years, we contract through the school district to use several of their pools. And correct me, Sarah, it's Foothill and Highlands High School. and that we use that for the swim team and swim lessons. But yes, we do, and we plan on doing offering swim lessons this summer as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
I just have one quick one, Scott, on that irrigation line. Was that coming up bubbling? Is how we found out that was broke?
That's basically, I mean, those are 3 or 4 feet down in the
Yeah.
ground. So, you know, in the course of doing daily park checks and inspections, when we see a spot that's overly saturated or with water pooling, Sergio Portela, who our park maintenance supervisor, is pretty savvy about catching those things before they become a real issue. And I'm glad you brought it up, because it's not all glitz and glamour in the old parks division, because those guys, you know, they earn their keep when they have to get down and dig. It was literally 4 or 5 feet down just to find the leak. And Sergio's good at trying to use those as training opportunities. So 2 of our newer staff assisted him in getting this particular project done. And just for some perspective, we have in the past, due to mostly for time constraints and things like that, we will bring outside contractors in to fix those type of things. That can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. So utilizing our team in-house over a 3-day period, they were able to find the leak, isolate the leak, fix the leak, and then fill it all back up so you don't even know it's there anymore. So it's a big, dirty job, but they do it well. So thanks for bringing that up, Pat.
Did Scott refer to the parks division as glitz and glamour?
It's not all glitz and glamour, Larry. You know this. Come on.
That would be news to me if it was.
Well, let me get to part B on this question, Alan, then I'll get you back to Scott. So I guess our water bill is going to go up at that park for this month. All that water that I'm sure leaked out of it.
As soon as they find the leak, we shut down the backflow, so there's no water flowing. I mean, there's some residual leaking that goes on, but once we find it, we definitely turn off the backflow to save that, you know, to save the resources. So.
Okay. Hold on, sir. Alan.
I just wanted to add one thing about Crystal's question about swim lessons. Just as a side note, both of my kids took swim lessons through the park district, and they both later became lifeguards and swim instructors. They couldn't work for our district, so they had to go to another district. But, you know, so yeah, it was a great program.
I see some of the other districts are like doing their lifeguard lessons and like training during spring break or before summer. Is that the plan for our district? Or do we partner with another district to do the training and the recruit? Like, how does that?
I'll refer to Sarah.
Currently, we're not doing any outreach right now because we aren't sure what it's going to look like. We don't know if we're going to have access to a pool. But yeah, we typically outsource that. No current staff member has lifeguard instructor certification. So staff that are interested in working for us have to obtain their lifeguard certification, and then they're part of the team.
Okay, nothing else there. Then I guess we'll move into, hello, Bo, good evening. To the rec report, Miss Sarah, you might as well keep on going.
I don't really have anything else to add to the report itself. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
I did. Of course I did. Back to the aquatics, the swim team, basically. Did we file the taxes already? Is that, or we're just planning on, did we get all the paperwork, I guess, from Travis?
He informed me this week that he has it all. So we're just working on nailing down an exchange date that he's available to meet up. That we both have.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only, the swim team. I just want to make sure that we get it all into our hands, you know, since there's nobody around anymore.
Absolutely.
Any questions, Miss Crystal?
Hey, Sarah, I was wondering, what communication, or what's the plan when Twin Rivers returns back to school for the distant learning, the extended distance learning program through the district?
We're not sure. They haven't reached out to us yet. So we're hanging on, and we have a plan in place to help support, but there's a lot that goes into it, the contracts, making sure it's financially responsible for us. But our intention is to continue if it's allowed, but we haven't heard back from them.
And then I wonder if the students that are attending, are they selecting to do hybrid or remain distance learning, if that makes a difference as well with who stays in the program. And I know you probably, I don't know. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Crystal, I'd like to just add to what Sarah said. We have a contract with Twin Rivers to offer the program. And in the program, it does have an out clause for either side, that in the event that either side needed to back out of the contract with 15 days notice, that we could do that. What it doesn't address, and that's what I think is why I don't think Sarah's being vague. I think it's just truly that we have not received that communication. I can only imagine Twin Rivers is up to their eyeballs and alligators with all this stuff right now. But we don't have, there's no language in the contract that says, well, what happens if we come back partially? And you know, all that stuff kind of evolved after the original contract was signed. So what we know, what you know, and what everybody else knows about what the various school districts have stated that they're going to do. We know there's a deadline date that for Twin Rivers to return back to school. We know that, but we also understand that we're still in that discussion. We don't have an answer for that.
Thank you.
So to answer your question, we don't have access to the students' records. That's a confidentiality thing. So whether the students choose hybrid or they choose to stay distance learning, it's not up to them or us whether or not the program continues. It's all in Twin Rivers' hands because they pay for the program. They pay for their students. So if Twin Rivers backs out, we don't have a program.
Just from a strictly financial perspective, if Twin Rivers were to back out and went a different direction, financially it's not going to really affect the district, because as you know, the distance learning program is more or less a break-even program. So if it stopped, then you know, obviously the bulk of our costs are staff costs. Then we would obviously have no staff, but we didn't have a program. But it seems apparent to me that they're going to have some version of a distance learning program, because not everybody's going to opt in for that program, or they're going to set it up, from what we've heard, some days in school, some days not. And I guess right now they are just working their tails off trying to figure out what that's going to look like. So as soon as we find out, we will let the board know.
And then my last question, how does the district do a presentation or get a presentation to the board to highlight the distance learning program, or what we're doing in community, or you know, what we're offering? Like, how does that happen? Is that through Larry that creates that opportunity, or do we reach out to the board directly?
I'm not sure I completely understood what your question was. How do we communicate with Twin Rivers?
A presentation. On their board meetings, they have presentations from their department folks. However, I've also heard or watched them present other programs that have happened or that occur in the district. And this is a phenomenal program and an extension of the work that they're doing. And I just want to know, how do we get that highlighted, or at least presented to the other board members that maybe are not aware, or just the district, so folks know how North Highlands Park and Reagan Park has been supporting students and families in the district.
Sarah?
So right now we have a pretty good relationship with two of the board trustees. So we have as often as we can, we highlight our program and we try to sell it as much as we can. However, as far as presentations go, I believe it's just invite. I don't know. We haven't been asked to do any presentation. But we have toured and talked to the program with two of their board trustees. We're in communication with our administrative reps for both the after school program and the distance learning program. So they know that we need to know as soon as possible. So they understand that this isn't the first time we've gone through, the timeline and everything like that. So we'll hopefully get some information, and we're ready to transition and adjust if necessary. That's one thing that Rachel and I do best, I would think, is adjust on the fly, and we're happy to do it and willing to do it going forward.
Okay, looks like no others, so we'll go to budget narrative report. Larry.
So I mentioned to the board last month that we were going to go away from the fiscal report, which was basically all numbers, to more of a narrative report. And I'm going to play around with this thing till we find something that seems to address any questions that you have. But what I try to do is take the three divisions, administration, recreation, and maintenance, and highlight the major costs that each one has in the budget, and that would be, staffing costs, benefit costs, and then also the services and supplies, to kind of give you an idea of how each one of these divisions are kind of moving each month and what their expenses are. And as you probably noted, it's not all evenly divided over 12 months. Full-time staff, you're going to see that consistently pretty much the same, because those salaries and benefits are split over, I think it's 26 pay periods, where everything else, especially recreation, is very different. It depends on the time of the year. And I would say the same thing for maintenance. We certainly, as Scott said earlier, we are not turning on the water in the wintertime when it's raining, so our water bills are going to be less. And then come April, May, June, you're going to see the numbers start to ramp up a little bit. But anyway, the idea is that I'm trying to put it in a narrative form for you to hopefully make it a little bit easier to understand. And if there's some things that you would like me to add, let me know, and I'd be happy to do so.
I think I like this way better, to be honest. But any questions on it? No? All right. 7 correspondence. No correspondence. 8 comments or reports from citizens or organizations.
Just I sent an email out to the board earlier today. We received notices from from an organization in the community and one member. They did not pose it as a question, so I think I addressed that, how best to handle that in the email. But other than that, we did not hear anything from the public today.
I would like to read the one from the organization, if that's all right. Or if someone else wants to read it, it's okay with me as well, but
You can, if you like.
And then the other comment was for a specific agenda item 10C. So will that be read then?
Well, all that was just, he just supports it. So, and this was just, when we get to 10C, it's just an advisory anyways. So it's just that community members just saying he supports it.
Oh, and I was just about to ask a question. I think Barbara had her hand up at the beginning or at some point during the meeting, and I didn't know if comments were only before 3 o'clock and not while they're live on the call, right?
Before 3 o'clock, they have to be submitted.
Make sure we set that, but she's gone now. All right, so the email that was received. Good day, NHRPD team, sending positive vibes your way. We're with the Black Child Legacy at Liberty Towers, serving North Highlands, Foothill Farms, and surrounding neighborhoods. Our purpose is to reduce preventable deaths and disparities as we collectively build healthy, resilient communities. We have a team of navigators who are social workers, connecting community members to programs, resources, and services. In addition, we host positive experiences and enhance protective factors. We have a few community events coming up and invite you to collaborate and attend. This Saturday, March 13th, we have a free dental clinic for students, especially middle and high school scholars, from 1 to 3 p.m. at Liberty Towers, 5132 Elkhorn Boulevard. Saturday, March 27th, Impact SAC is hosting a concert downtown at the Capitol from 2 to 4. Saturday, April 3rd, we have a walkthrough Spring Carnival, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Liberty Towers. If you or any community members are interested or have questions, call or text 916-900-6708. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Impact SAC. Please let us know what's possible and if you are able to attend or contribute materials we can distribute to participants. Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks for your time and consideration. The Legacy team at Liberty Towers.
Okay. Anyone got any questions on it or?
Does the Park District do? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Bo.
No, go ahead, Crystal.
No, go ahead.
So the first question, since this is information about what is going on in the community, would this be considered correspondence? And if so, have we considered how we receive correspondence that's not just by snail mail, that's maybe by email or any other, medium? And then my second question, Larry, I heard you mention that something was not phrased as a question under community comment. Do all the comments have to be phrased as a question, or can it be a statement around support or lack of support or things like that?
As you know, our policy is that we accept questions of items on the agenda or not on the agenda, and those would be forwarded to the chairperson. You bring up a good point regarding that email coming under correspondence. In hindsight, I think it could be addressed under either item number number 4, comments from the board members, where if somebody wanted to address that, then they could, or under correspondence as well. You are correct. The problem with the correspondence is that usually reflects correspondence that we received up to the time the agenda was mailed to the board or provided to the board. So I think either one, Bo, would work, but I'm not trying to be an ultra stickler with this, but our policy does say it's questions, and I don't want to be playing on semantics here, but if it's a question, it'll be forwarded to the chairman to address. But I think if emails like this, we certainly could put under correspondence or under the item number 4, comments from the board members. If it's not addressed under comments from the board members, then we can put it under correspondence, item number 7. But I'm glad you caught that, because I caught it afterwards. I go, oh, shoot, it could have gone underneath there too.
Thanks, Larry. So if we could make a note, I would like for us to discuss correspondence further to see if it's appropriate to keep it as just a question form or receiving any kinds of statements, whether no matter what form they are, from our community. So if we could kind of, parking lot that.
Okay, we'll do.
Thanks.
And usually around this time, the district has their spring extravaganza or activities and events, and interested to know, is the district planning to collaborate with other organizations that might be hosting something? Or what's the process if an organization is interested in working with Park District or distributing materials and correspondence from the district or flyers or any of those things?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have addressed this a few months ago under the same issue came up about how do we collaborate with others? How do we distribute materials and those kinds of things? I don't want to bore the entire board, but if you would like a report on that for next month, we can do it, or I can talk to you privately. But I thought I addressed it. Maybe I didn't do it clearly enough, but there is there's more than one process of how we work with the community. But generally speaking, and I'll take just a few seconds to elaborate on this. Typically, when our building is open, we have an informational board when you walk into the lobby. That generally is for district-related programs and services. However, if the members of the community come to us and say, "Hey, if you have space, could we put this up there? We're advertising just what you shared a minute ago, Crystal." Then we would put that up there. So that's a way of doing it. We've also talked about getting a kiosk for the front of our office complex where we can post things a little bit more clearly than posting them on the windows and the glass of the building. That's another way we could get it out there. But generally, that's our way of sharing information. And I'll be honest with you, and Alan and Pat, you guys jump in there if you like. We don't usually get a lot of community correspondence asking us to support or at least I'll use the wrong terminology, shout out their event activity that's coming up and trying to support it that way. I don't think that we are necessarily opposed to doing that. I think that we should look at things that not only support the community, but also support Parks and Recreation, because again, that's what we do. But if we need to dwell a little bit deeper into that, I can do that as a future board report.
My last question is, I understand the board information is listed on the website. Is there any possibility to share it on the Facebook and create events pages about the board meetings and share those opportunities for folks to comment and and attend and invite them to the meetings?
Didn't we talk about this? I mean, not. Oh God, I don't even. I'm not good with words. But I thought it was last meeting or meeting before we talked. We're trying to. We have once we go to open board meetings, we have it gets YouTubed out there. But everything else is like we said earlier. If someone wants to comment on our agenda, it's out there on our website. And they just, so we meet it within the guidelines of that 3 o'clock of the day of the meeting, so we can. I'm just trying to. I don't have all my notes in front of me. How we talked about putting it on Facebook and stuff. The only one I see that is I see that you highlighted. Crystal, I saw it the other day on your web page or on your Facebook page. But people can always go to our website. I mean, that's how our community is built up on our website. We got people that put their time in and keep that website up and running. And, till we get to our open board meetings, which hopefully will be
soon,
sometime, in 21. I mean, we're getting better, but then like I said, you're going to see, Rachel, I'll get you in a sec here, Bo. We have nobody shows up to our meetings unless they want something and they want it free, which is fine. If we have it, we give it. We don't ever really deny, but yeah, it's the only way we're just a small special district just trying to get through this COVID thing. Bo.
Yeah, so thanks. Two things, a comment and a request. So the comment is, I kind of want to switch the narrative a bit. And like you said, Patrick, nobody really comes to our meeting. And we're trying to survive COVID. And what I, on a personal level and on a leadership level, I'm trying to do is always assess what opportunities we have, even in a catastrophe. And so the opportunity that we have is that we have learned that we can have connections and meaningful connections through the internet, through means that are not less than 6 feet apart, and maybe not necessarily in the same room. And the reason I bring that up is I do too look forward to us meeting in person, because there is a special kind of connection that comes with that. But I think we've also learned that there are many different mediums that we can use to reach out to our community. And I believe that if you build it, it will come. And, I would love to hear from Sarah and Rachel, maybe not necessarily in this meeting, and this is part of my request. My request is that we can replicate the information that we share on our webpage easily to Facebook, Instagram, and all of those kinds of things. That gives us an opportunity to reach folks that we aren't reaching now. And we don't know if we reach out to more folks, if we widen that pool, we may attract more people. I'm just coming off the campaign trail, and I had to do a mix of knocking on doors and having conversations, and also having conversations like this. And I've found that the more you try to engage folks, the more folks will engage with you. And so my request then is that, Larry, this has come up several times, and I heard this from you and I heard this from Patrick. So to me, it's flagging something that we need to have a further conversation on. I don't know if it resides in a committee, or if it resides in the administration department, or if it resides directly with the full board. And I would like, your guidance on that. But I think we are definitely flagging that we've got to meet these times. And it also goes back to the correspondence, being open to maybe correspondence that comes electronically. So I would like to address this further. And Larry, you let us know what's the right kind of path to do that.
Taking a note here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to just take a second to kind of weigh in on this. I completely understand where Crystal's coming from. Anybody, we all, there's probably nothing more exciting than going to a board meeting and see a room full of people. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I've worked for agencies where, you can have a standing room only, people packed out into the hallways, and then sometimes where you can hear just the crickets. I will say this, generally speaking, though, when you have large crowds, it's generally focused on a particular issue. If you bear with me a second, when I was in Napa has a very large 300-acre park, and the park has a dog run, and it has an open space for a dog run. It has an area for horses to run. It has an area for balloons to land. All these different recreation features were working well together until one day it wasn't, when one group says, we want more land, and to get it, we have to take it away from these people. We had to set up speakers and chairs and tables out into the lobby because the 250-seat city council chambers was filled. And that issue drove people there. 2 meetings later, there was nobody in that meeting. And I only say that because I think it's a great idea to get our meetings out there on different social media, and I'm happy to work with you, Crystal, and I know Sarah's and Rachel well versed in this as well. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get our meetings out there to the public. And I don't want to say this as a fact, but I would not be shocked if you still find out that there's not a tremendous number of people that would come attend our meetings. And the reason why, there may not be an item that is drawing their attention. Having said that, and I'll end with this comment, as you know, I notified the board, and we're going to be updating early next week our website to reflect this. We submitted our application to the Prop 68 grant for the close to $2.9 million to develop Sayre Creek Park. This has been going on, Alan, for what, several years or more actively. And while we haven't got the grant, there's no guarantee we're going to get the grant. We feel pretty excited to get this far. Well, we had a lot of community involvement when that started, and it's time to reach back out to them and let the community know this is what we've done, and hopefully sometime this summer we're going to get the thumbs up, and that's going to start a whole process all over again of everything that we need to do, engage the community again, and reassess to make sure that all the things that they said that they wanted to see in the park are going to happen. And I will say that will probably draw people to come to our board meetings, because it's going to be probably the biggest project we've had in many, many years, and it's going to affect and impact our community. So I don't want to discount, and please don't think I am. I don't want to discount the idea that we should not reach out and try to advise the public about our meetings. We certainly want to do that, and we will do that. But I will tell you, issues tend to drive people to come to your meetings. And I imagine if Twin Rivers School District wasn't talking about distance learning or returning to the classroom, they would probably have a few less people in their meetings, but they are, and the meetings are filled. So hopefully it helps you, Bo, but I do hear what you and Crystal are saying, and give us a little time to work on this, but I think if the simple thing is to reach out to the public and different ways of letting them know about our meetings, we can do that. But I just keep my fingers crossed and hope that it encourages people to participate. But I will end by saying this: the minute we go back to in-person board meeting, I think you'll see the opportunity for more people to start attending our meeting, because this is a little difficult for some people.
All right, Alan, we'll let you before we move on to number 9.
All right, I'll try to make this fast. So I've been around for a few years now. I've been to some of our board meetings when it's standing room only, but that was again because there was an issue. Now, a number of years back, we used to broadcast our meetings on cable TV, but we kind of did a little straw poll on how many people were actually watching it for the amount of money we had to pay. And I was chair at the time, and I pretty much begged people, call the district if this is something you want to keep seeing. I don't believe we got a single phone call. So it gets a little frustrating when you're trying to reach out to the public, but you don't get any response.
All right, let's move on. Number 9, unfinished business. The master facility improvement needs list. Larry.
I'm going to start this off, and then I'm going to hand it off to Scott, because Scott and Sean, our facilities supervisor, put the document together. And I won't read this verbatim, but I just wanted to point out to the board that, and I think I had this earlier conversation with Crystal sometime back about our master plan. Our master plan has reached, for all practical purposes, it's reached the end of its useful life. And there's a number of reasons why the district needs to do a master plan, not because we want to do it because it feels good and it gets a chance to update everything. Yes, that's absolutely true. But a lot of times grants are tied into having an up-to-date master plan. And if you try to apply for a grant and you said, yeah, I have one, but it's 12 years old, they may not look at that favorably as one that's 3 or 4 or 5 years old. But I also will say that a master plan is not a cheap, inexpensive endeavor. It can be very expensive, and it does take time. If you want to do it right, it takes time. But anyway, Scott and his crews went through our facilities, our parks, our buildings, did a quick evaluation. It's not at anywhere the depth of a master plan, but it's a really up-to-date snapshot of what our facilities look like. And then what they did, they took that information and put it kind of in a list to help the board follow along to see where the obvious, attention needs to be given in needs assessment, and what things are okay now but need to be addressed later, but what are things that, hey, we should address this real soon. I think they did a pretty good job with this. But what I did want to point out to the board is, especially for the new board members, we have 2 accounts. Well, we have 3 accounts. We have the general fund, which you're most familiar with because that's what we draw down our salaries and our supplies, equipment, benefits, and those from on a monthly basis. But we also have 2 park dedication accounts, and you see that in your report. And combined, those are about $1.2 million. That's exciting. That's a lot of money, and that money could do a lot of good. Some of that money is restricted, and it's restricted because it's developer impact fees, which we can only use in certain cases. So you look at the bottom of that report under the fiscal information, it talks about allowable uses and prohibited uses. And that's real important because when, and I've spoken through email, through Crystal and through Bo, we're in the process of setting up a committee meeting to, once the board reviews this document tonight, is to refine this and prioritize it, and then come back to the board with a shorter list of projects that we think are doable in the next fiscal year. And that is projects and studies. And when I say studies, master plans, those kind of things. And we'll put a price tag on it. Anything we do will draw down from that 1.2 million, but it's real important that we do this. And because that money can address a lot of needs. Some of the issues will have to be addressed in the general fund, and we want to be very careful how we do that, because once that money's gone, that money's gone. And anyway, the point is, this will be addressed when Crystal, Scott, and Bo and I meet in the next few weeks, and we will go through this, and then we'll come back to the board. But I think Scott's crew did a good job, and I think that we have identified some funding sources that we can look at, and I look forward to working with the two directors and then coming back to the full board next month with a shorter version of this list. And that obviously will be open for discussion for the full board. You can choose to add, delete, whatever the majority wants to do. But that's the process. But now I want to turn it over to Scott and let him talk about the facilities and the issues themselves.
Thank you, Larry. The report that we ended up presenting for tonight's meeting is broken into categories. And given that structure, in reading it again, it's kind of almost priority categories. Parks oftentimes are identified by their play structures. Are they aesthetically pleasing? Are they fun for kids to play on? Are they inclusive? So that was the very first category that we addressed. We've got a handful of parks where you see the high priorities, that the play structures are woefully outdated to the point where we can't buy parts to fix them anymore. Do kids still play on them? Yes, they do. Families still go to Plain Haven or Chardonnay or to Cape Art. But those are priorities that we've identified. It's kind of mind-boggling to me. We renovated Freedom Park, which we consider our flagship. That's our major community park. That park was renovated and reopened to the public in 2009. That was 12 years ago. And Freedom Park gets a ton of use, but Freedom Park is showing its age already. We've done many repairs to swings and slides and climbing apparatus, made upgrades to the play structures, and we put the splash pad in several years ago. All of those things require constant maintenance and constant upgrades. And it's just kind of mind-boggling to me that we're talking about 12 years ago that all took place. So we have to start thinking about what we're going to do to create a new Freedom Park, in the next several years. But definitely Chardonnay, Plain Haven, Cape Art, those are woefully out of date play structures. So that's why we listed those as high priority. The other focus most recently, within the office and in parks specifically, is ADA compliance. And we've got a lot of parks where the pathways are not wide enough. There's buckling and raising due to tree intrusion. So this was actually a project that was on the agenda to get fixed up last year, right when COVID rolled around. So that, when funding sources kind of shut down, we shut down some of these bigger projects. But we've got several parks, again, indicated with the high priority designation, that are going to need attention to their pathways. Some of it's simple, grinding down some raised areas. Others, pathways need to be widened. Tree roots need to be removed. So outside of the park facilities themselves, pathways and pedestrian pathways are a major concern for us as well. And then we looked at the various amenities. Some of our parks have basketball courts. Freedom Park has not just a basketball court, but it has a horseshoe pit. It's got the splash park. So, all of those things, like I said a minute ago, require constant attention and constant repairs to keep them safe and fun for the community to use. Not too many high priorities in those right now. We're doing pretty well on keeping those updated and accessible. Picnic areas. Larchmont is one of our smaller neighborhood parks. It's got a fairly new, actually two fairly new play structures that were put in 2015. But it's got some picnic tables that are feeling their age, and we would probably want to replace those sooner rather than later. It gets a lot of use from that neighborhood that it sits in. Parking lots, we've actually addressed parking lots within the last 3 to 4 years. We got the parking lot at Cape Art was resealed and restriped, as was the parking lot at the office complex. Strezic Park, when we added the new play structure there, in addition to putting a new roof on the clubhouse and the other changes that we made to that facility, got a reseal and a restriping as well. So we're excuse me, we're doing okay on our parking lots, except for the one issue, of course, at Brock Park that we're still trying to figure out the best way to keep it open and accessible, but also secured after hours. District buildings, we've done a lot of stuff in the last 5 to 7 years. We've done remodels, extensive remodels at the community center. The kitchen was remodeled in 2018. The community center itself got some new flooring, a new paint scheme, and some upgrades in the community center. Again, during normal operations, the community center is a major source of revenue for community events, quinceañeras, wedding receptions. It's a major source of rental revenue. The community center, the recreation center, both will need new roofs sooner than later. If you ask Rachel, she'll tell you about a little experience after that deluge we had yesterday. The roof over the community center, it wasn't backed up or clogged with any leaves or anything like that. It was just so much water that the downspouts couldn't handle it. And our ladies' room in the community center ended up flooding, and we had to close it up and make other arrangements while just learning was still going on. So a new roof would help alleviate some of that. K-Part, I could spend an hour talking to you about the K-Part facility. In addition to upgrades outside and inside the gymnasium, it needs a new playground structure. We've got 2 old derelict swimming pools there with the related plumbing and buildings that supported them when they were operational. Now they are just holes in the ground that need to be addressed, either filled in or something put in that space that the public can use. But K-Part is going to be, I think, a priority that we're going to want to take a look at. And as we talked last month about the Prop 68 per capita grant, which is separate from the competitive grant that Larry just finished and submitted, we have a chance to utilize over $200,000 for various projects that have less restrictions than using park impact fees, things like that. And K-Part, I think, will be a source of discussion with our facilities committee. So this is for your information. Last month's report was more of a snapshot. This we went in a little bit more detail, and we will certainly drill down a lot in a lot more detail when we meet with the Facility Development Committee, and then come back to the board in April and give you a list of priorities that will be factored into the budgeting process for 21-22 fiscal. So happy to answer any questions you might have about the report.
Crystal?
Question about Ridge Point. There is the small play structure on the outside of the school gates and then the one inside of the school gates. When you put Ridge Point, are you referring to both or just the one inside the school?
We have no access to what's inside the gates at the school. The play structure is the one outside on the corner of Tipwood over there.
Yeah.
That's the one we maintain and have.
And then interested to know, is there a tool or some type of park assessment evaluation that you use when you are going through it, like to make sure it is equitable or that it's full in its potential? Like, is there a tool or assessment that you use to evaluate?
Well, we have a comprehensive checklist of items that we hope covers virtually every aspect, and that might be impossible to do, but the checklist that we complete, there's one side that is specific to play structures, the other side is for the surrounding areas, the pathways, and the amenities that aren't included in the play structures. So that's the document we use to on a regular basis inspect and identify areas that need repairs, replacement, or any other things that we have to address.
And then my other question, with the Ruth Iman Park area, who determines how many benches and like what other amenities are there? Like,
Did we lose her?
Well,
Must have.
I'll go ahead and try to answer a question. First of all, Ruth Inman Park is more of a gateway park. It's not an active park. You won't find any play structures. You will see some benches. There's also a bench for I think the bus services is a pickup there as well. And people may not realize it, Ruth Inman is actually 2 pieces of property.
Right.
The street separates a smaller piece from the larger piece, but it's really, it's probably poorly identified as a park. But it can be used. People go out there and play catch if they want to, and play with their dog and do those kind of things. But technically, it's really what we call a green belt, a gateway to the community. And I think that's what we addressed last month. We were talking about that sign. I think Scott addressed that, and we had some representatives from community service groups and about doing something to spruce that up and address it. But as far as the number of benches go, I think we want to have a purpose for a bench. One of the things we have to be careful about, that park tends to draw homeless, especially in the back part of the small piece. And when you have benches, those become beds. And I think we do have benches. Well, I know we have benches in the park, but as far as which benches and how many, I don't think that that's been really fully addressed by the board or by staff. When we have a need or somebody addresses a need, we take a look at it. If we think it's valid, then we address it.
Yeah. Bo.
Larry, can we put this on our agenda for the facilities meeting to talk about the public nonprofit partnership that we have there at the park? I think it would be worth a conversation. Not only how do we do upkeep and maintenance, but is there another way that would help us really identify that as a gateway to our community?
You're talking specifically Ruth Inman, correct?
Specifically, yes.
Okay. Yes, we can do that.
Alan?
So 2 quick things. First of all, the pool at Capehart, just so everybody knows, I'm not sure if the new board members know, it's a 25-meter pool. Most of the pools around are 25-yard pools. So that's one reason why it's never been fixed, because nobody swims meters around here. All the local swim teams swim 25-yard or 50-yard pools. That's the first thing I wanted to bring up. The second thing was, we've done before, of course, we can't do it during COVID, but in the past, we've done park tours tied into a board meeting where we all hop in a van and we go to all the different parks so everybody can see what's there, what needs to be done, what would be a good improvement. And hopefully sometime we usually do it sometime in the spring or summer when we have daylight savings time, but that's something we can hopefully look at in the future to do.
Good idea. I just want to say, Larry and your staff and Scott, I mean, putting this together, I was going through it. I was totally amazed from what we got last month to this. I like this. Now I can't wait until the committee gets together and now we can go from there. This gives me a better idea of what's needed, what's not. I mean, because my main concern always is, excuse me, safety, the pathways. I thought that was key. I didn't even think about that, so yeah, no, I think this master list is put together was good. And I can't wait to hear from the committee on next month's on what we come up with. So,
Absolutely.
Any other questions on this one? All right, we'll go to new business, 10A. The 2021 investment policy for the pooled investment fund. I read through that. Go ahead. I'll let you, Alan. Alan, I'm used to you and the number, Larry.
Well, it's not the most exciting item that you're ever going to find on an agenda.
No.
But as you and Alan know, and the new board members will soon figure out, this is an annual item that comes before the board. it's approved by the Board of Supervisors, and then it comes to our board to have the board approve that it's been received and filed. So that's the action we're asking the board. If you actually are a numbers person and you want to go through the document, it's interesting reading, but being a pooled investment, and Alan can speak to this, there's not a lot of money made on our money. Very little money. It's not a great, it's something we do because obviously more people in the pool, Alan, the greater you have, greater resources, the greater supposedly that you'll have, you can, generate interest on your funds.
You
Correct?
want me to talk, Pat?
Yeah, go ahead, Alan. You're my number guy.
So again, like Larry said, we have our funds pooled in the county. That's where basically our checking account is. And so when the money sits in our account, it's then pooled and invested with all the other county monies, some other districts. I don't think any cities are in there right now. So theoretically, we get a better rate. And normally we do, not always. I also sat on the board of the retirement system for the county. And we were very lucky because in the county pooled money, there's by government code, there's only certain things you can invest in. If any of you been around and remember what happened in Orange County back in the 90s, I believe that was. Well, at the retirement board, we're a lot more open in what we can invest in. And we were getting about a 9 or 10% return on our money up until a couple of years ago. And I think they're still running about 6 or 7, which is pretty dang awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And we just pretty much accept it every year. The person that signed the reports, that's my old boss. I've known him for 30 years. So it's all up and up.
So the action is for the board to vote on that the district has received and filed the annual report.
That's something Terry will do, right?
That's for you to take a motion in a second and approve it.
But I mean, that's.
All right, so moved. I move to accept.
Both seconds. Okay.
No. Point of clarification.
Okay.
What are we voting on again, Larry?
You are voting on to receive and accept the Sacramento County Annual Investment Policy of the Pool Investment Fund for calendar year 2021.
Thank you. I will second that then.
Any further discussion? Ms. Terry?
Director Harding,
Aye.
Director Matre,
Aye.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Director Semaenko,
Aye.
Chairperson Williams.
Aye.
The motion passed by a 5-0 vote.
Okay, thank you. Now, 10B, Resolution 600. Contingency, North Highlands Recreation Park District authorizes 2020-2021 budget amendment contingency fund decrease. Larry.
There are 4 items that we're requesting that the board approve to draw down from the contingency fund. One we talked about specifically last month, which is the district sign board, rather than go through an attempt to get the state to pay for that through our per capita grant. The board elected to go ahead and take the funds to replace that sign from the general fund and through the contingency fund transfer. The second is the business conference expenses. We have some board of directors and staff that have indicated that they wish to attend some upcoming conferences, and we needed to replenish that account because we had drawn it down quite a bit, not anticipating or knowing if we would be able to attend these events this year. The other is a $650 amount for an accounting service charge from Sacramento County. They did a mid-year adjustment for the districts, and ours was raised by $650. And lastly is a salary adjustment for the administrator's life insurance policy, which kicks in at the end of March. and will carry through the end of this fiscal year, and then will be budgeted appropriately in the next year's budget. The total of those 4 items is $39,525. If the board approves those expenditures, those will come from the current balance of $73,020, and that would relieve a fund balance in the contingency fund of $33,495. The staff is requesting that the board approve resolution 600, which will include those expenditures of $39,525.
Alan,
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution 600 in the total amount of $39,525.
second, anyone?
I'll second.
Max will second. Any further discussion?
Very clearly stated, Larry. Thank you.
Ms. Terry,
Director Hardy,
Aye.
Director Matre,
Aye.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Director Semienko,
Aye.
Chairperson Williams.
aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, item C, Recreation Division Scholarship Program. Sarah. Sarah, I had to look at the name on the thing. Sarah.
Yeah, so I put together a report of the information I can find on the history of our scholarship program. As you'll see there under the background, I believe the scholarship program has been around since before the early 2000s, but with our records, that's kind of where we sit as far as getting some hard data. And I kind of showed some demographics of where the scholarship recipients' money has gone to. There was a concern that a lot of it was going to aquatics, which you can see that a good portion of it was, but it seems a little bit equal to some of the other areas that scholarships are given out for. I go into a little bit of detail about the criteria. We currently have $539.75 in the scholarship fund. Does anybody have any specific questions about our current scholarship program?
Alan, and then I'll get you, Crystal.
I just want to add, this has been going on since at least the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Wow.
I'm sure it's on
Miss
some
Chris-
floppy disks somewhere.
Miss Crystal.
Just wanting to gain, thank you so much for providing this information. And I want to just acknowledge that I was a recipient of a scholarship for a science camp during spring break. So when I saw science camp being offered, I immediately shared, hey, community, reach out for scholarship opportunities, without understanding that it was, if it was set or any, I just knew it would be available. So my apologies for that if it caused any challenges or issues. Wanting to understand though, is it available for all programs like the science camp for spring break? And like, is that something that we should be advertising or not? Like, just wanting to get an understanding. I know the fund is only at like 539. So what's the process when someone applies for a scholarship?
Well, right now we're in the process of revamping the entire thing. It's kind of outdated, and I'm talking to other districts and looking at what other places are doing as far as their process on requirements and criteria and how much they cap. So until we do that and really get a good plan, we've kind of taken it off of the programs right now. Larry, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I did. I think one of the key points that we don't want to lose track of, Sarah is correct. The program's been around a long time, as Alan alluded to. I can't attest to how, if it's changed much over that time. My experience with scholarship programs leads me to think that this is probably a little dated and probably needs to be reviewed from top to bottom, bottom to top. to look at it, to see how we can improve the program. But the thing that we don't want to lose track of is without funding for the program, the program doesn't exist. And the reality of it is, I think somewhere in the report here, yes, in a 5 or 6 year period, we only had a total of $7,100 in donations. Spread out over a course of programs on a yearly basis, more families go without a scholarship who need them than who receive them. And I think that's the key thing, the key element that Sarah and I have spent a lot of time talking about. Knowing that districts can't budget, out of their general fund for a program like this, it's called a gift of public funds, and we're unable to do that. We rely strictly on outside sources on how to receive funds. And one of the things I don't think we have done, and I certainly would like to look at, I know that we did this when I worked at another agency, look at the philanthropic institutions. Who's out there that's offering these types of things? Either they want to co-sponsor a program or they want to offer some scholarship funds. And I think the approach that we want to look at is, rather than wait for money to kind of trickle in, as we did by taking profits from a soda machine, which amounted to nothing, to kind of backfill the scholarship program, we want to take a more aggressive approach. And what we want to do is come back with a plan to the board that will look something along the lines of where maybe once a year the board can write a letter signed by the full board, and we target either different institutions or businesses, and we send them to ask them to support our program either through a scholarship or a co-sponsorship of a program. And as Pat and Alan know, and our staff know, we actually, in normal times, we have a number of businesses in town that underwrite a number of our programs for us, which in a sense is a scholarship for everybody, because by underwriting it, it's either free or it's greatly reduced for everyone who participates. So I think this is an excellent time to do this. Sarah's already started on this. I can't tell you this is something that's coming back to you next month. It probably is not. I'm a little reluctant. And again, if the board feels different, let me know. I can be swayed. Putting out $500 to say we have a scholarship program of $500, that would go in about 5 seconds. And then we're going to have a massive list of people who are not being served. And I'm concerned about that. If it was 5,000, I might think a little differently. But the answer to your question, Crystal, and other board members, we understand that it's an important element to our community, and as Alan and Pat are aware, we also offer some free programs to the community. The free drop-in program at our parks that we offer during the summertime, and Alan certainly remembers. I don't think Pat was on the board at the time. When we had our pool next door, we also offered 1 day a week free rec swim, but we don't have a pool. So we try to address things in different ways other than just discounting programs through a scholarship. But give us a little bit of time to work on this, then we'll bring it back. We'll probably go through a committee first and then come to the board. And we want to take a look at how we can improve and make this program better.
I think Sarah put together is pretty good.
I think Bo had a question.
Bo.
Yeah, so I would love to offer my assistance in any way in figuring out a robust fundraising and development program. It's kind of my wheelhouse in some other areas of nonprofit fundraising. So I'm first of all, I'm glad to hear you say that, Larry, trying to make sure that this is as big and as broad as possible and not looking at it as just 25% off that we can supply to individuals. So if you or Sarah would like to talk more, or we can bounce some ideas off each other, that would be great.
We can do that.
Excuse me. All right, payment of the bills.
My apologies. I just wanted to ask, is that the programs that would be responsible for that question about scholarships or supporting with the?
You broke up, Crystal, or you're freezing.
Is that the programs, fees, and charges committee that would be responsible for that task regarding scholarships and building that fund?
My guess initially is it would either be that or the budget finance, probably I think the program fees and charges committee. You're correct. And that would be Max is the chairperson and Bo is the member.
Alan,
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, Larry, because it's not a program fee. This is a scholarship program. So I don't know if that should be, I mean, I don't know what committee, but I don't think it should be that committee.
Well,
If
so
anything,
if it's a program, then it falls under the program committee, wouldn't it?
well, is it a program? It's not, I don't consider that a program of the district. It's something the district has. A program is something that, you know, Sarah's group does. That's a program. So in the past, when we've discussed this has been at the full board level. So I mean, it's up to the board what they want to do, or the chair.
Well, how about if we do this first? Let us create the draft first, and then we'll touch bases with the board and let you decide how you wish to proceed forward with it. We can do that.
okay, hold on. I saw Bo had a hand up real quick and then we'll move.
That was, I second that, Larry, that idea.
So, okay, we're good. All right, then payment of the bills. I see we got a truck number for some maintenance work. Thanks, Terry. Oh, she can only buy, yeah. Questions, concerns?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to ratify payment of the bills.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
No.
Terry,
Director Harding, how do you vote?
Aye.
Director Matre,
Aye.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Director Semianco,
Aye.
Chairperson Williams.
aye.
The motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Meeting's adjourned. The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will be April 8th, 2021 at 6:30 at the Zoom computer or at North Highlands Recreation at 6040 Waddy Allen.
I'm just gonna let Terry know if you want, I can come by and sign stuff tomorrow.
That would be perfect, and I